Ian, welcome back. Tiki and Tierney, how you doing today, man?
What's going on, guys? How are you?
We're good. We are good. Now, obviously, we'll branch out into the games, and we'll get to that in a moment, though. What do you think? We've heard a lot, and I understand there's the real correlation about the GM search before the head coach search, which finally seems to be suggesting the Giants are doing this right. Mm-hmm. But if I know our fans want a little bone, our audience here. Who do you think the Giants like as a head coach candidate, as well as the GM stuff?
Well, it is interesting because it doesn't have to be this way. The Chicago Bears are doing both searches basically concurrently, so doing GMs and coach kind of at the same time, and this will try to marry, one to the other and figure it out that way. The Giants have been in flux for, God, it feels like years.
Yeah.
GM here, coach here. And the way it was described to me yesterday is the Giants need to redo their scouting department. Like, it seems like they've lost how to evaluate players, how to scout players, how to build a roster. They need a new GM to come in and set the foundation and, probably make some moves and basically teach everyone, like, this is how we are going to, as an organization, find and scout players. So I think that is good and important. The way it was described to me for the coaches is the owners have some ideas. The candidate will have some ideas. They will interview everyone. And then, they will see which is the best option. So, some of these stronger candidates, obviously Joe Judge was a Belichick disciple. I guess it's possible that Brian Flores could get interviewed. I think he would do a great job. Hard for me to imagine they kind of go down the Belichick road again. Mm-hmm. Just, doesn't seem like what might happen, So, I think some of the top candidates are guys like Brian Daboll and Leslie Frazier with the Bills. You have Nathaniel Hackett, who's with the Packers, done a great job. I know he's got Aaron Rodgers, but has done a great job. Todd Bowles would have been much better Jets coach had he not had a very bad GM. Knows the area, very well respected man. I think he's got a shot. Those are some of the names. Dan Quinn, who I think is from New Jersey, actually. He's going to get multiple interviews. I think he'll probably have a shot. He's on everyone's list. Kellen Moore, kind of a young, really, really smart assistant who runs the entire offense for Dallas. He's probably going to be on the list. Those are some of the names kind of to consider there.
Yeah, no, but when you think specifically about the Giants, obviously the GM and head coach are important, but there's some personnel decisions that are also going to be, I think, on the top of fans' minds. And it's in particular Daniel Jones at quarterback, Saquon Barkley, because he's on his fifth-year option. Like, will you get an indication of what their future looks like in New York?
Yeah, so if I had to guess, and this is just a guess now on Daniel Jones, because obviously we don't know who's going to be making the decisions, but it feels like the best option there is to decline the fifth-year option and bring him back. And maybe you bring back competition. Maybe you draft someone in the later rounds. Maybe you bring in a veteran who's sort of a bridge guy. I don't love the idea of committing to him for that extra year like the Panthers did with Sam Darnold. And then it's like, you've sort of screwed yourself twice, honestly. The franchise tag is not that much more than the fifth-year option. So let's say Daniel Jones goes and balls out and you have to give him the franchise tag. That's who cares? That's fine.
Yeah. And you can still negotiate until the season starts, right? If you do the franchise tag. So it's not like you're committed to it.
Right. And the other thing is, like, no one has complained about, like, oh man, I got to pay so much money for this great quarterback. Like, if you got a great quarterback, they cost a lot of money. Fantastic problem to have. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
The Saquon is a different issue. And I'm sure, Tiki, you saw this out on the field.
Yep.
We had the knee injury, but then the ankle really affected him. Like, he did not look like himself the second half of the year. And salary's a lot next year. It's fully guaranteed. So the options really are bring him back at that salary or trade him. And I don't know what they would get in trade based on the film. So my guess is they bring him back and say, it's time to prove yourself and
earn it.
Earn it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're talking to Ian Rapoport here on the Fan, Tiki and Tierney. Let me throw something wild at you. Tiki's heard this for a couple of years from me. I don't think I've ever thrown this by you. You talk about the Belichick tree, and those branches have been snapping off left and right. I mean, it's not very good. It is what it is. But
Not great.
Knowing the affinity that Bill has for the Giants organization, the reverence he has for the Giants, the logo, the history, his history. I mean, if they lose to the – by the way, I do think that they lose to the Bills. That's what I'm thinking. But if they lose to the Bills, I'm not saying that Bill would even want to necessarily jump. But why not make an exploratory call and say, hey, Bill, is it time to come home? Yet, any interest?
Yeah, I mean, he's, in his high 60s, and he doesn't seem like he's slowing down. But, I mean, I don't know. To me, like, it doesn't seem feasible. I don't think the Crafts would let that happen. Like, what would the compensation be? Like, it's like there are some things. It's like, let's say you wanted to trade for Joe Burrow, young quarterback in his prime, who's under a cost-controlled contract. You almost couldn't do the trade because you can't offer enough. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't offer enough first-round picks to where it would actually be worth it for the Cincinnati Bengals. And I feel like that with Belichick, because the Patriots would obviously not let him go. They'd want, incredible compensation for the greatest coach in NFL history. I don't even think he would do it, even though he does love the Giants. You're right about that. I don't think he would do it because, start over at 60-something years old. I don't see it, but I don't even know that you could do the deal because it would be for so much.
Okay. Yeah. Just want to throw it by you.
No, it makes sense. And speaking of other coaches, non-Jets and Giants, the African-American coach situation in the NFL is getting bad. I mean, Mike Tomlin's the only one now with David Culley. Not that I thought David Culley was going to last more than a year anyways. There's more GMs that are of color than there are coaches. I guess Rob Saleh counts as a minority as well. But we've heard this talked about so many times over and over and over again, and it doesn't seem to be getting better. The league, it tries to do the right things. Ultimately, this isn't ever going to improve unless owners change, and they're never going to change. So, at what point do we stop talking about it? You know what I mean?
Never. I think we should keep talking about it. I think it's an important issue. I think it's getting better. And I know it sounds ridiculous because there's just one black head coach in the NFL, 2 minorities, 1 black head coach. The pipeline is getting better. And I think what the NFL has tried to do is from the ground up is build up the base of really strong minority candidates. So that's, helping young coaches become quarterback coaches and offensive coaches rather than just on the defensive side of the ball. That's important. A really good young black coach should be able to be a quarterback coach, not just a receivers coach, those sorts of things. Right. Because that's how you get a head coach job. Just like there's not a lot of offensive line coaches who turn into head coaches. A lot of them are quarterbacks or DBs. So I think that's one thing. The other thing is the NFL has changed the way they do the interview process. There has to be at least one person of color in person doing an interview.
Yes.
That should also help. You look at the list of candidates this year. There are some strong black coach candidates. Todd Bowles probably gets a head coaching job. Brian Flores probably gets a head coaching job. Gerard Mayo may get the Houston job.
Wow.
I think Byron Leftwich will be a head coach. I don't know about this year, but I think he will be a head coach as well.
Yeah.
I hope Raheem Morris is. He has not gotten an interview request, which is crazy to me, but I hope so as well. So, this isn't good, and we should talk about it, but I do think better things are on the horizon.
Good. Yeah, it's an impressive list of names. You didn't even mention Bieniemy, did you?
I didn't. Bieniemy has one interview with his hometown Denver Broncos, and he's been a hot candidate several years in a row. I think what happens is you go through your time as a hot candidate and you get one or you don't. He obviously hasn't gotten one. So there are some teams now that have head coach openings that interviewed him in the past. It almost seems like it's kind of going past him, similar to like maybe Greg Roman with the Ravens. Once you kind of go through the interview process, you don't get handled. Everyone's like, all right, well, who's the head guy? Who's the hot guy this year?
Yeah.
That's kind of the way it works.
So you think I know we got to go. You think it sounds like you're saying there's a good chance Bieniemy's without a chair again? Really?
Well, he's only got one interview.
I understand that, but I mean,
one interview so far, and the Vikings and Giants haven't put in their request yet, so we should note that because they're doing GMs first. But I mean that's what it looks like. I don't know why he hasn't gotten one. Maybe the interview process hasn't gone well. Maybe it's just bad luck. He's a great coordinator for a great team.
Yeah.
But I I would love for him to get one.
But Ian, when you say bad luck, and I know you're just trying to look at it from every angle, and I certainly respect that. Yeah. But to me, it's not bad luck. And I don't know this to be true, but there's something, because it's like there's no black coaches. There should be more. I'm with you. But he's got to be doing something wrong in these interviews. He has to. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, something is clearly not going right. The reason I said bad luck is not like it's, flip a coin, but to get one of these jobs, the worlds have to collide. You have to have a team looking for this, a team open-minded to, want the coaches you want, the system you want, the timing has to be right, relationships have to be there. So, there is some fortune that goes into it. But yeah, I mean, clearly something is not going well enough for him to get a head coaching job. He's done it a long time. Could the same thing be happening? I'm not even sure. I just know he is a very, very good coach, and I hope he gets one.
I got you. Ian, have a great weekend. Enjoy the games, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ian.
All right. Take care, guys. Thanks.
Yep, you too. Ian Rapoport, NFL Network.